Hello, this is the breakdown of my Bulletkin 3D model made in Cinema4D and rendered in Redshift. So the inspiration for the project was to create a new model or scene based off of something with very little reference. So I wanted to do a scene based on an indie game called Enter the Gungeon for a long time. And I thought this was the perfect muse to reference. The secondary goal was to incorporate and learn how to do imperfections into my materials, because that is a big thing once you get into the minute details of how things look. It makes it's a little bit of spice for a model. So speaking of the model, let's get into it. Let me turn off the wireframe right here, and I'll turn off my lights too so we can see what's going on. So one of the big things about being a 3D artist in my head is to break things down in terms of shapes. This is pretty clearly a standard 9mm bullet. It's not a difficult shape to recreate. It is simply a cylinder, a dome, another cylinder inside of it, another cylinder here that's more of a ring. For the feet, these are also two cylinders, and the hands are cylinders on, you guessed it, more cylinders. Everything here is just bent or transformed in a way to get it to look like one cohesive piece. And in here I did sculpt it myself to get the grooves in the eyes and the little cheeks here. The eyes are not cylinders, surprisingly, they're cubes, and I cut out the mouth with a cube and a bowl for the body. The gun is interesting because it is not a cylinder at all. In fact, it is a lot of different materials stuck together. This is what it looks like before it has been volume built. So I used the volume builder to create a gun out of a bunch of primitive shapes. Let me go ahead and enable that now with the mesher. We don't need the remesh. But with the volume builder is very useful because you can essentially bool things out, cut shapes out of other shapes to get the cylinder of the revolver in here into an actual hole, and you can smooth it out and it looks all nice. One of the other challenges of the revolver was that since I volume built it, it was all one piece, which means that if you put a material on it, the whole thing becomes the material. Now, I don't know any guns that are just like brass or aluminum, so we needed a way to get this wooden texture on here. One of the unforeseen challenges was using UV mapping to go and do that. So there's two ways to do it. There's the hard way and the easy way. I did the easy way, as I came to learn. The hard way was not worth it for this project. But it's pretty simple. You select the thing, you turn on the faces mode, you can select some things that you want, and then you drag and drop your material in, and it will, oh, look, it's that material. So I just selected everything that I thought would be the grip, and I put my brownish material on it, and that seemed to do the trick. So that covers the model. It is just primitive shapes and other things stuck together with volume builders and a couple of bools, using deformers like the bend and taper. And so let's move on to the lights. The lights here they're simple. I use a basic 3-point lighting setup that I had messed around with in a previous project. Spent a lot of time doing a full lighting setup, so I just imported what I did back then into this one. It saved me a lot of time. You start off with the dome light because the dome light is a good glow. It provides good global illumination. You can put an HDR on here. This HDR is from Polyhaven, I believe, and it provided a really nice warm kind of dungeon vibe that I was going for, because, you know, it's a dungeon that he's from. And then we have a key light, our backlight, and our fill light. And all together, it makes a pretty well lit scene here. Let's go over the materials next, because this no model is anything without materials. And you can see that right here. If we go to clay mode, this is what it looks like if you have no materials, which is very plain. You basically don't do any 3D work without materials. So let's stretch this guy out here. Here are the materials that I used. Several of them, like all the metals, gold, lead, iron, they're all default Redshift materials, so I won't go over them, except for the edits I made to them, to each of them. For gold, I outsourced I sourced a couple of textures from the internet. These scratches and dust. I was just like, I want scratches on this model. So scratches, dust, and fingerprints are placed throughout the model on different surfaces to get accurate feeling of what this guy has been through. It makes it more realistic. It makes it feel better. So on here, I took it off, but we can take it, we can put it back on. I'll put this over here so you can see. The gold is connected to a displacement, and I did use the displacement blender for the dust, but I took it off later. I'll get rid of that. And it's just displacing dust on top of it. So without that, it looks slightly less dusty than before. It looks a little stranger. Concrete I didn't end up using, but this is my own texture that I made using a photo I took outside and put it through Materialize. Brownish is just a simple, good, honest default texture with a little bit of noise on it, and scratches for the revolver gun. We can zoom in here. I'm sure the software won't mind, so we can see it up. So if we zoom in here, we can see scratches that are present on the gun, which give it a little bit of depth and distinguishment. That's not really a word, but I'll just say that anyway. Some distinguishing features. The cobblestone base, also made by me. I think this is very nice. I'm proud of this. It is a photo I took outside, like concrete, and put through a variety of different alterations to get smoothness, AO, normal, and height, and all that makes it pop, because without those, these other strange looking pictures, it looks kind of weird. It's just flat. This is the flat texture, which is not bad, but it doesn't look, you know, it looks like laminate, not actual cobblestone that he's standing on. What I learned is that materials are actually pretty fun to work with, and they can get pretty complicated, but it also opens an avenue for making things pop. It's a lot more distinguished. It's a lot more professional looking with these changes, because without the scratches and the dust and everything, it doesn't look as good as it could be. It looks flat. It looks kind of basic. But that's it. That's my breakdown. Hope you enjoyed. Okay, thanks for watching.